For most of us, the name Adolf Hitler brings only one image: a tyrant, a monster, the architect of one of the darkest chapters in human history.
That's only the surface, and what lies beneath is even more disturbing.
Who really was Adolf Hitler? Not the caricature, but the man. And why is understanding him still so important today? He was born in a small town in Austria in 1889, a sickly, anxious child. His father was violent, his mother overprotective. In school, he was isolated, a dreamer, obsessed with art and architecture. Teachers described him as lazy, moody, and withdrawn. Not exactly the makings of a future dictator. But this is where the myth begins, in invisibility. He failed to enter art school twice. His work was deemed too weak, too lifeless. Rejection cut deep. For a boy desperate to be seen, the world had once again told him, "You don't matter." And when people feel invisible for too long, some decide they'll do anything to be remembered.
But when that pain festers into hate, it stops being personal and becomes a threat to everyone else.
Homeless in Vienna, he lived in shelters, surviving by painting postcards. But it wasn't just poverty that shaped him, it was what he absorbed. In that same city, anti-Semitism was in the air, nationalism, fear of the other. He didn't invent those ideas, but he would later become their most lethal amplifier.
He didn't find purpose in art. He surrendered to rage and chose to turn it into ideology.
And when World War I erupted, he volunteered instantly. He loved the war, the order, the uniform, the cause. But most of all, he loved that for the first time, he belonged. When Germany lost the war, he didn't just feel defeat. He felt betrayal, humiliation, and that emotion, that deep need to reverse the shame, would become his mission. Most people think Hitler rose to power through violence, but the truth is more chilling. He rose through words. His speeches weren't brilliant by academic standards, but they were electric, emotional. He didn't appeal to intellect. He went straight for the gut. He understood pain, humiliation, longing. He spoke to millions like he knew their wounds because he did. His genius wasn't in strategy, it was in storytelling. He gave a broken country a new villain, a new pride, a new fantasy of restoration. And once people believe that their suffering has a name, they'll follow anyone who promises to destroy it.
Du meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig.
Publicly, he was absolute, certain. He screamed, pointed, controlled every room. But behind the scenes, he was filled with contradictions. He was vegetarian, but orchestrated death. He loved animals, but hated people. He believed in purity, but was deeply insecure about his own origins. He was obsessed with cleanliness, routine, and silence. often locking himself in rooms for hours, pacing, talking to himself. He feared doctors, trusted no one, and even at the peak of his power, he was still the same boy from Vienna, angry, rejected, and desperate to prove he mattered. The scariest thing? He believed in what he was doing. He wasn't pretending. He sincerely thought he was saving the world. And history has shown the most dangerous people are the ones who believe their evil is good.
Hitler didn't just create a regime, he created a religion. There were symbols, rituals, songs, salutes. He wasn't just a politician, he was a prophet. He offered more than politics. He offered identity, meaning, destiny. For people who had lost everything, he didn't just give them someone to blame, he gave them somewhere to belong. But that belonging came at a price: obedience, uniformity, the death of thought. And the deeper people went into his myth, the harder it became to see the truth. He didn't enslave minds by force. He did it by giving them something they wanted to believe.
He died in a bunker, alone, paranoid, surrounded by ruins. But the story didn't end there. Because Hitler wasn't just a man. He was a mirror, reflecting back everything we fear. How far a society can fall. How easily truth can be twisted. How fragile our values really are. Understanding him is not about sympathy. It's about warning. Because he didn't start with mass graves. He started with wounds, with words, with fear. And in the wrong hands, that's enough. So, who really was Adolf Hitler? A failed artist, a traumatized soldier, a master manipulator, a believer in his own lies, but above all, a man who turned his personal pain into a collective nightmare.
He wasn't born a monster, but he chose to become one and proved that the real danger isn't in monsters. It's in ordinary men who stop seeing others as human.
Let this be a reminder. History doesn't repeat. People do. If this video made you see things differently, don't leave without subscribing. Comment with "The mask was never real." And tell us, who do you want to uncover next? Because the past isn't dead. It's hiding behind faces we think we already know.